Onto your markets now. Asian markets closed mixed today, although there was downward bias during the trading day. This after China approved a 6 trillion yuan plan during a national legislature meeting. The stimulus provided is designed to help local governments refinance their mountains of debt in the latest push to revitalize growth in the world's second largest economy. The Nikkei share average ended the session up 0.083%. The Hang Seng index declined by 1.45%, while the Shanghai Composite Index closed up 0.5%. US markets continued on their upward trajectory, reaching record highs as market players appeared optimistic about a Donald Trump presidential victory, with the further 25 basis point cut in interest rates also lending support to sentiment. US stocks are said to have registered their strongest weekly performance since November 2023. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose by 0.6%. The S&P 500 ended the session up 0.4%, while the Nasdaq Composite Index rose by 0.09%. Just taking a quick look at the local market. The all-share index is flat, trading at 85,136 index points. The rand is trading at 17.73 against the US dollar, 22.86 vis-a-vis the British pound, and 18.94 against the euro. We see that the currency is weakening there. The price of gold is trading at $2,669 an ounce, platinum at $987 an ounce, while Brent crude oil is trading at $73.29 a barrel. Viv Govinda is a portfolio manager from Rand Swiss, and he joins us now. Thanks very much, Viv, for joining us. So it's clear that US markets are content with the Donald Trump presidency and the supportive interest rate cuts, but presumably between now and January the 20th, to be specific, there's going to be quite a bit of volatility as the speculation around what US economic and foreign policy is going to be.
Well, certainly. I think the issue with Donald Trump is the scope of what he can do is larger than what the Harris government would have done. He's basically advocating things that are something that nobody else would be looking at doing. For instance, regarding tariffs, he's very aggressive on tariffs and talking about tariffs in excess of 100% against places like China, and 20% as a global minimum. He's talking about, intervening in the Russia-Ukraine situation in a way that I think will change the kind of stalemate we're seeing there over the last little while. So the scope of what he could do, I think, is just greater than what other people might have done. But the issue as well is that I think the markets are pretty positive about him, because there's a couple of things he says that are going to be universally positive for markets. Number one is taxes. There's only two things that really universally basically are known to increase market valuations. That's lower interest rates and lower taxes. And he's definitely talking about lower corporate taxes, which should be positive for companies. The second thing he's trying to do is reduce regulation. Elon Musk is going to play some part in the government, not exactly, I don't know what officially, but he's aiming to reduce environmental and other regulations, which should give at least a temporary boost to the US economy.
So Chinese and Hong Kong markets are said to be disappointed by, the Chinese authorities' approval of an $840 billion stimulus plan. So where to next then?
Well, I mean, I think given the Donald Trump victory, this plan was always going to be a little short. The problem is what it's focused on. It's focused on municipalities. It's focused on local government. And yes, that is required because the local governments in China basically have fueled a lot of their spending of land sales, and the property market in China has kind of collapsed. In many ways, it's worse than 2008. But I think, if you want to really see China grow into the future, you can't just basically take care of the problems of the past. You're going to have some kind of future plans as well. So there needs to be some kind of, reform around, for instance, government intervention in the private sector, which has caused, for instance, new startups to really fall dramatically. There needs to be some kind of reformation around, or some kind of activity around trying to cut down on the tensions with the rest of the world. Donald Trump already has been quite anti-China. The Chinese government has to do something to do about that, has to do something about reducing those tensions and at least try and find some way to get around those sanctions. Maybe also trying to tamp down some of the tensions around Taiwan as well, which I think is a real danger for China. If China decides to become aggressive, like Russia was with Ukraine around Taiwan, we could be seeing a whole new level of global uncertainty.
Yeah. So as Rand Swiss, do you make decisions based on expectations or what you know now? In other words, given Donald Trump's threats to impose tariffs of up to 100%, like you say, on Chinese goods, are you beginning to reposition your portfolios now, or you're going to wait and see what happens post the 20th of January?
Well, we were never invested much in China anyway. It's always been our belief that due to the outsized nature of the CCP in the Chinese economy, the leadership there mattered. And Xi Jinping has proven himself to be, I think, not up to the task of running the Chinese economy. And given his age as well, and the fact now he's effectively leader for life, it's unlikely he's going to get much better. But we're talking about a 70-year-old person that's going to be in power until he dies, effectively, which could be when he's 90. And I don't know many 90-year-olds that can run a country like China. The US is different. You can have Donald Trump, you can have Joe Biden, but they don't really run that economy. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk does what they will. In China, if you just say the wrong thing about the government, you are Jack Ma, you end up without a company and basically in exile. So I think that's the number one issue in China. The second thing is that we are part of the Western financial system. Like, for instance, when Russia and the US had an issue, basically, if you had assets in Russia and assets in the US, Russia assets disappeared, your US assets remained. I think the same thing will happen if there is a China-Taiwan issue. The investments by a country like South Africa in China will probably, become valued much less, and the assets you have in, for instance, the West will not be affected. So from that point of view, we are pretty pro-Western, and in fact, in the West, we are primarily US, focused.
Yeah. Viv, my recollection is that you've tended to be quite conservative about investment in Bitcoin. Many analysts have been. And we see that now having shot through $82,000. And I think this is driven by comments that Mr. Trump has made to support cryptocurrencies. How far can it go? And are you likely to join the bandwagon, or no, thank you very much?
No, thank you very much. Look, I can see, and in fact, I did a seminar before the election, and I had three things that were going to go up if Trump won. One was Palantir, the other one was Tesla, and the third was Bitcoin. And I bought two out of the three. So I'm happy with the two I've gotten. The reason with Bitcoin is that, quite frankly, I don't know what the valuation is based on. I don't understand what this particular use case is. And yes, it has gone up, and I predicted it would go up before the election. In fact, I picked Trump to win, and I said if he did win, this was what's going to be happening. But I would rather have a company with actual earnings, with the actual fundamentals, as opposed to something like Bitcoin, which I do think that yes, Donald Trump is very positive about it, but it's entirely dependent on what the government thinks about it. Trump gets replaced by Gavin Newsom or something after 2028, and he's anti-Bitcoin, and then suddenly Bitcoin disappears as valuation.
Yeah. Just one last thing, Vodacom, they came out with their half-year results for the 6 months ended September 2024, reporting revenue up 1% at about 74 billion rand, but EBITDA declining by 2.7%. Your thoughts on this particular stock?
Couple of things. Firstly, of course, they've been denied that merger, which is obviously an issue. I think if you look at the US right now, with what Trump's bringing in, is going to be much more aggressive in terms of allowing competition to occur, or let's question about the mergers to occur. Probably going to change the head of the effective comparative competition commission in the US. In South Africa, as the Vodacom said, 3 years to decide, and then it's blocked. But they're also being hit by a number of factors around currency weakening in many of the operations in Africa, and I think that is something to be concerned about. We've seen a number of currencies in Africa over the last year or so diminish quite dramatically, like Egypt down dramatically, Ethiopia down dramatically, even though Nigeria, as big a deal for Vodacom as it's for MTN, also significantly reduced. And these kind of currency movements are going to have an effect if you basically are valuing yourself in what's effectively a hard currency in comparison, which is the rand. It's strange to say.
All right, Viv, thank you so much for your time there. That was Viv Govinda. He's a portfolio manager at Rand Swiss. We're going to go for a quick break. Of course, after that, we'll be in conversation with the CEO of Vodacom.